So from mask confusion to mask choice, possibly in schools, there's a lot of rallies going on around the county. The Let Them Breathe parent group is also holding a news conference earlier this evening at the county administration building. And KUSI's Teresa Sardina joins us live from the Embarcadero. She's got more for us from there. I see a bunch of people behind you, Teresa.
Good evening, Logan. Yes, a lot of people here at the county admin building. That press conference had just started at 4 o'clock. So many people out here rallying against mask wearing in schools. And I know Dan was just talking about the confusion with the recommendations for mask wearing. So it appears that the county, the CDC, and the state, they're on the same page recommending those who are vaccinated or not, they want them to mask up. But it is confusing, as Dan was talking about, because the state has the mandate for those who are vaccinated can forego wearing masks, and the unvaccinated has to wear the mask. Now they're saying they recommend it, and so they're aligning with the CDC. So it's very confusing, especially for those here behind the Let Them Breathe movement. I'm here with the founder of Let Them Breathe and the alcohol mayor, Bill Wells. Thanks so much for having us here and being on KUSI.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Of course. Okay, how are these recommendations from the state, the CDC, and the county going to affect the Let Them Breathe lawsuit?
Well, we are just going to continue with what we're doing because we in no way thought that the government was going to stop their overreach, which is why we moved forward with this lawsuit. And I think the one thing that isn't confusing is that the government shouldn't be parenting our children. The parents should be parents. Parenting is all about consistency, understanding our kids' needs. The government obviously can't even agree with itself. The CDC has reversed its guidance within 2 weeks, and they obviously do not understand the needs of our kids. They're not understanding that they're in a mental health crisis due to the masking.
And who is here in attendance? I understand the two attorneys behind Let Them Breathe are here.
Yeah, so I'll be speaking. Mayor Wells will be speaking. We have a school board member, Andrew Hayes, some teachers, charter school liaisons, and then we have just a group of organizations that have been partnering with us in Choice in getting our communities open.
All right, Sharon, thank you so much. All right, Mayor Wells, you and I were just talking about the confusion from the county, the CDC, and the state having this recommendation when the state has a mandate. So again, this is a recommendation by the county and the CDC. Your thoughts on everything happening right now?
Well, first off, I'm encouraging people not to wear masks, especially if you've been vaccinated. I'm vaccinated. As far as I'm concerned, I can't give the disease. I can't get the disease. And there's no reason to punish me because they don't like the fact that other people are making an informed choice not to get the vaccination by making me wear a mask. It makes absolutely no sense. It's nonsensical. And it's really way past public health, and this really smacks of complete and pure politics.
Mayor Wells, you are a very active mayor in San Diego County, working closely with so many districts, in your area. What conversations have you had with many parents for those, who are sending their kids back to school soon, and they're trying to decide what to do because now the state is saying that the schools can decide how they're going to enforce the mask requirements. But what are some conversations that you're having with some parents in your district?
I think people are terrified. They're terrified that they're losing control of their own lives. They're losing control of their businesses. They're losing control of their families. And more importantly, they're losing control of their children's lives. And there's a lot of consequences with masking up. I mean, we've seen the teen suicide rate go up by 50% in this last year. That's significant. That's a lot more than people are dying from COVID who have been vaccinated. So if we're worried about deaths, why aren't we worried about those deaths? And why are we worried about the loss of businesses, the loss of financial means? And why aren't we worried about what this is going to do to our kids 5, 10, 15 years in the future? Because we have no idea what the rest of this is going to cause. I think there's going to be a lot of fear and anxiety that kids are going to have to deal with for a long time.
Mayor Wells, we appreciate it.
Thank
you so much for sharing that. All right. Well, we'll have more coming up at 5 o'clock. We're here live at the County Administration Building at the Embarcadero. And this is one of many Let Them Breathe rallies happening across the county. As you see, so many people are here, so many parents behind this group and local officials and just community members coming out here. Sandy Unified, many districts are going back to school soon. And that is the question, what is going to happen? Are parents going to send their kids back to school wearing masks? And how are these districts going to enforce mask requirements? And again, we are just following up with Let Them Breathe members because they have the lawsuit on the table against the state. I'll send it back to you, Logan.
We're going to be talking about the data and the science behind all of this in just a moment. Teresa Sardina live for us there in downtown. Teresa, thanks.
Well, clearly the debate over masks continues.
So from mask confusion to mask choice in schools, there are rallies that are continuing all across the county, and the Let Them Breathe parent group is also holding a news conference this evening at the county administration building. KUSI's Teresa Sardina joins us live from there, and she's got lots of parents behind her as always. Hi, Teresa.
Good evening, Logan. I've been listening to the show. I know we have Dan's report about the confusion over the mask mandates, the guidelines, the requirements, the recommendations, also hearing the doctor's response as well. Yeah, I'm here at the county administration building with the group Let Them Breathe. Many parents, even the El Cajon Mayor Bill Wells was in attendance. We also have the attorneys behind Let Them Breathe, since there's a lawsuit on the table. They are suing the state. But I'm here with the founder of Let Them Breathe, Sharon McKeeman. It is so good to see you again. Yes. And there's a lot of good information, a lot of speakers, talking about this mask choice in schools. I know there's a lot of confusion because now the county, the CDC, and the state, they all agree, no matter what, you're vaccinated or not, they are recommending everyone to mask up. And now it seems like the education system is paying the price for it.
Exactly. What they're all in agreement on. They seem to not know a lot about the virus or how to come together and do what's right for our kids. But what they are in agreement on is just their government overreach. They're continuing to try to do parents' jobs, to try to do school districts' jobs for them. We heard from Mayor Wells saying that people are not going to continue to comply with this. People are not going to keep taking this. We're so thankful for his leadership. We had teachers and members of charter schools and public schools all standing with us, just saying enough is enough, and we are taking that legal action, but we are just continuing with our advocacy efforts at every school board rally. We're statewide rallying over the past few weeks, and we're not going to continue to take this. Our kids need to be able to smile again. Apparently, they just want to keep our kids masked indefinitely, and that is not okay.
And you were telling me this lawsuit, was just in place just in time because you had a feeling this was going to happen about the CDC and the state, aligning with these recommendations.
We have learned not to trust that the government is going to be logical or that they're going to honor our rights. And so we have just continued to move forward, and they've proven us right. And so thankfully, we already filed that lawsuit on Thursday, and we are very hopeful that we will get a favorable ruling before school starts or shortly thereafter so that every kid can have mask choice. If they want to wear a mask, fine. But if at this point they need to unmask, they need to have that choice. Our kids, COVID's going to be here. It's got to be managed through the adult population because our kids need to be able to get back to normal.
All right, Sharon, thank you so much. We also have Ari Spangler and Scott Davidson. They are the attorneys behind Let Them Breathe. So we want to clarify some things. So the county, the CDC, and the state, they aligned for recommendations for those, whether you're vaccinated or not, to mask up. But still, the state has a mandate for schools, K through 12, to wear a mask, whether you're vaccinated or not, especially the kiddos. And your final thoughts. I mean, you guys have this lawsuit on the table. You were assigned a judge last week. It's Cynthia Freeland. She was the one with reopened schools as well. What do you see moving forward, Ari?
We see a hearing within the next few weeks to ask the court to invalidate the state's mandate to have kids wear masks in the classroom and to require them to quarantine if they're exposed to a positive case and they're asymptomatic, and to eliminate the testing requirements.
All right, Ari, thank you. And Scott, so with the county, the CDC, and the state having these recommendations, how is this going to impact this lawsuit against the state?
I think it's actually a great example for us to use when we get to court, is that you see the guidance changing constantly. And you see that, sometimes some organizations come out and say masks are required, but not if you're vaccinated, because vaccines protect you from getting sick. And then now we see them reverse because, we can't, spread COVID. What we notice with all of these organizations is that they still fail to consider the actual risk to children and whether or not any of these restrictions in schools are appropriate for children. And so because children are at such low risk and because we have so much evidence that, schools are safe, that they're not transmitting the virus in schools, they're not getting the virus in schools, and they're not getting sick, that none of these restrictions, whether it's masks or quarantines or these demands for, constant testing, are appropriate for a school setting. And so that's what we're really hoping to get a definitive ruling on. And if we can get a judge to basically agree that the state shouldn't be implementing restrictions that aren't rationally based on the actual risk to kids, then we hope that'll stick and that'll prevent these organizations from waffling back and forth as the school year goes on, allow these kids to get back to school in a normal setting.
Scott, thank you so much. And Ari, we appreciate your time. All right, I'm going to send it back to you, Logan. You just heard from the two attorneys behind Let Them Breathe. And something interesting, when Alcohol Mayor Bill Wells was speaking here at the press conference, he says if there is a COVID-19 surge, if the cases are increasing in the county, why is it that the county, the CDC, and the state are now saying it's only a recommendation to wear a mask when, if it's that serious, it should be a mandate? But we'll see what happens because school is starting pretty soon for many districts in the county. Are these parents going to send their kids to school with masks or not? So we will definitely continue following this story and other rallies as they are on the schedule. Logan?
More will be revealed, as they say. All right, appreciate the live report. Teresa Sardina, live downtown. Thanks, Teresa. Well, so from mask confusion to mask choice in schools, rallies continue all across the county. And the Let Them Breathe parent group is holding a news conference this evening at the county administration building. And KUSI's Teresa Sardina joins us live from there. She's been there all afternoon talking to parents. What's happening, Teresa?
Good evening, Logan. Well, this is why Let Them Breathe continues to rally. The county, the CDC, and the state, they're saying they recommend all San Diegans to mask up whether you're vaccinated or not. It's not a mandate, it's a recommendation now, but the state still has a mandate for K through 12 students. That means no matter what, those kids have to mask up, and this is why Let Them Breathe. They're really against the mask wearing. They're saying unmask the kids, and I'm here with the founder, Sharon McKeeman. Wow, what a turnout for the press conference earlier at 4. Many guest speakers, including Alcohol Mayor Bill Wells. What did you get from this conference, just talking to so many parents?
Well, again, the numbers are just growing because there are so many parents that are concerned about the effects of masking on their kids' mental health, on their academics, and we're all for choice. So if there's a child that chooses to wear a mask, that should be their choice. Our children are whole people, they're individuals. We need to listen to them. We heard from Mayor Wells, we heard from mental health therapists, our legal team, but I think the best, most important voice we heard from was the kids, just yelling out, let them breathe. They want to share their smiles.
Since schools had reopened and now with all these recommendations, your goal was to have this complaint against the state. Well, now a lawsuit is on the table. You guys are suing the state. Who exactly are you suing?
So we are suing CDPH, Governor Newsom, and when we said that, there was quite a cheer from the crowd because people are so upset with how he's handled things. And then Doctors Aragon, Ghali, and Bardick, who are all decision makers that are apparently deciding that they should decide what's best for our kids and letting us, instead of letting us be parents or letting the school districts run their own communities and do what's best for them.
And what is the latest with the lawsuit? I understand that you were assigned a judge last week, and that's Cynthia Freeland, the same judge that was handling the reopened schools.
Exactly. So she did give us a favorable ruling. I was part of that school reopening lawsuit, and we are thankful that she not only acknowledged that there's not a whole lot of science behind these arbitrary restrictions, but that there is a lot showing that they're harmful to kids, and she upheld our kids' right to an in-person education, not just in-person, but an effective education. And so we are hoping for a similar ruling in this case as well.
And many schools will be starting in maybe 2 weeks. What do you think is going to happen? Because the state has this mandate, K through 12, required to wear masks in class. And schools are now given the option to decide how they're going to enforce mask requirements. Just talking with parents and many behind your group, how do you think this is going to play out? Do you truly believe these parents are going to send their kids to school unmasked?
Well, I think it's really about the kids. It's not about the parents at this point. And we're hearing from some kids that they just are not going to mask anymore. We heard from Mayor Wells telling people, you know, something along the lines of if this all ends when we make it end, when we stand up and we take our rights back. However, we know that a lot of kids are not going to be comfortable going against rules or going against the flow. And that's why we're suing, because no child should have to stand up against a rule that's arbitrary or that's not good for them. They need to just be able to be kids. They need to focus on their education.
Do you believe the state has this current mandate, K through 12, because those who are 12 and older are eligible for the vaccine, but 12 and under are not? So maybe that's why there's a holdup with this?
We do agree that, no child should have their masking tied to vaccination status. So there should definitely be recommendations in place that make sure that all kids are treated equally. But as far as that equity, it needs to be on the side of choice, not on the side of keeping our kids masked indefinitely. We heard from Melanie Burkholder, who I know has shared with you about just the mental health impacts. And one thing I saw with my kids is when a human has like an end date or a goal in sight, it can help them be hopeful and just wait and hold out. But when those goalposts are constantly moved, people start giving up. I saw that with my son. Every time the goalpost was moved, he would have just a further mental health crisis. And at some point, this can't go on indefinitely for our kids.
Sure, and thank you for sharing that. And lastly, when is your next local rally?
So we have school board rallies all over the state right now. People can check our Instagram, our Facebook group, and our email just to check out what event will be next closest to them. And if there isn't one in their school district, they should get in touch with us and organize one with us.
All right, Sharon McKeeman, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And not only is Let Them Breathe fighting for local schools, they are fighting for the entire state. And tonight we'll have a full wrap up. I actually spoke with Andrew Hayes. He is the Lakeside Union Board of Trustee. And this is the first time I have spoken to a board member about mask mandates and recommendations in schools. So he has an interesting response to what is happening. And he says he supports mask choice in schools. So we'll hear his interview tonight at 10 on KUSI. I'm here live at the Embarcadero in front of the county admin building. I'll send it back to you.
Teresa, we'll see you at 10. Thanks.
Hayes believes in local control.
I think it's politically motivated. I mean, when you look at some of these rules, it's been off and on changing to guidance throughout the past year and a half. And a lot of it has been using political science, I think, in this case, to really address some of the trouble with the recall. And we're putting the burden on local school districts. We should have local control, and we should be pushing back on Sacramento and asking for clarity and questions of them. And I would encourage local school board members to ask questions of the CDPH and say, really need clarity.
Let Them Breathe supporters and local leaders responding to the county, CDC, and state's latest mask recommendations. Regardless of vaccination status, mask wearing is recommended indoors. On Wednesday, the state reporting it's a recommendation, not a mandate, but a mandate for mask wearing for students K through 12 still holds. Let Them Breathe founder Sharon McKeeman says it doesn't make sense.
The one thing that isn't confusing is that the government shouldn't be parenting our children. The parents should be parents. Parenting is all about consistency, understanding our kids' needs. The government obviously can't even agree with itself. The CDC has reversed its guidance within 2 weeks.
Reaction from attorneys for the group.
We see a hearing within the next few weeks to ask the court to invalidate the state's mandate to have kids wear masks in the classroom.
How is this going to impact this lawsuit against the state?
I think it's actually a great example for us to use when we get to court, is that you see the guidance changing constantly. And you see that, sometimes some organizations come out and say masks are required, but not if you're vaccinated, because vaccines protect you from getting sick. And then now we see them reverse because, we can't, spread COVID. What we notice with all of these organizations is that they still fail to consider the actual risk to children and whether or not any of these restrictions in schools are appropriate for children.
And we will update you on that hearing. And as kids are going back to school, we are also going to follow up with district to see how they are enforcing those mask requirements. And we'll have this full story at KUSI.com. Reporting from the county admin building at the Embarcadero, Teresa Sardine at KUSI News.
Will be interesting to see what happens with that lawsuit, Teresa. Thanks.